Hello, welcome to FEITIAN's technical webinar. I'm your host, Enrique Tang. Welcome, I'm pretty excited to be here. Today, we're going to cover the OTP ins and outs of OTP authenticators. So very quickly going over the agenda items. Oh, actually, let's go over the ground rule first. Thank you for being here, and we will, throughout the session, feel free to note down your questions on the chat or reserve it until the end of the session. If we have some time left, we will address them at the end of the session, or follow up through email. So quickly going over the agenda, we will present a quick introduction to our company and talk through the importance of the MFA, as well as talk about OAuth, HOTP, and TOTP standards. And then we will get into the portfolio of FEITIAN's OTP token products, and then we'll get into some technical demos showcasing OTP tokens against various IDPs. And then we will demo 3 different ways to program OTP tokens, as well as see how you can manage C files in various C file formats. And lastly, if we still have some time left, we'll go through a Q&A. So who are we? FEITIAN Technology actually has been around for more than 20 years. We are a global leading providers in cybersecurity products, with offices located in US, Asia, and Europe, with more than 1,000 employees, and more than half of that are in R&Ds, with more than 1,600 of patents. We pride ourselves as a core, our strength as innovators and our flexible manufacturing capabilities. So we're very happy, and we have been partnered with a lot of different businesses, including big tech, financial institutes, educations, and government agencies. And we'll be happy to partner with you. So we have a wide range of authentication products, from PKI to OTP, FIDO security keys, smart cards, mobile readers, as well as mobile apps. So let's talk about why is MFA so important? Why are we talking about OTP? I mean, this technology has been around for quite a while, right? So on the point of MFA, the multi-factor authentication, the more apt question should be why not, right? With so many recent hacks and ransomware attacks on the news, occupying the news headlines every day, almost every day, with things like SolarWinds, supply chain attacks, and T-Mobile's that recently also leaked more than 50 million of user data. So it come to the point to ask ourselves, right? This is really the time to implement the proper security and authentication to protect and make sure our data is safe. So to the point that our U.S. President Biden issued Executive Order 14028 in May, requesting the thorough effort, holistic effort to improve the national cybersecurity. Follow up by a tech meeting in August, where app leaders from Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon flew over to White House, and there was accepting a list of the action items, and MFA is quite on top of that list of the action items. Being that, and the reason for that is that MFA is the fundamental layers for zero trust infrastructure, where this overall federal government's cybersecurity is shifting to. So what is zero trust infrastructure, you may ask? And it is really shifting the mentality and the paradigm from the traditional mindset of establishing trust and identity based on the network location and parameters, shifting from that to the newer, to a more secure establishments based on trust and access, the results of the authentications, right? This is why multi-factor authentication is so important, because if that foundation wasn't built solid, then anybody can hack into the system and then compromise your infrastructure and your data. So then another point is why are we talking about OTP, right? This technology has been around for 15, 20 years. Yeah, the point is in the opposite. It's actually a very proven, secure method of MFA if with proper management and configurations. And it works completely offline. Once it's configured, it doesn't require the dongle to be plugged into the USB port, right? It's completely offline. It's very easy to use, right? And it's better control, right? Like it's easier to manage for larger companies or regulated businesses such as bank and institutions, right? So and it's a lot more cost friendly. Right? So let's talk about like various form factors and the many faces of the OTP. Right? So there are these hardware tokens that we're going to cover a lot today. And there's also the software authenticator apps that almost everybody has it on their mobile phones now, and you can probably relate. The list of the identity on these authenticator apps just gets longer and longer. Maybe a feature idea for feature requests to have an easier way to organize that. And then there's also the message-based OTP. Basically, you request the OTP to be sent to your email or to your phone's SMS. And this is actually the type of OTP that's very commonly hacked in the recent incident. So this is the type of OTP that we were actually cautioned against. So at the protocol level, all these OTP are based on OAuth standards. So this is the open standards that anybody can take a look and do peer reviews and assessments online. And then from OAuth, it has a couple variants, right? At the very beginning, there's the HOTP, and all these are based on HMAC, but then HOTP is it's an event-based, right? So every time you hit that button, and it increments a counter and generate a new couple digits of OTP code for you. Whereas there's also the TOTP, and this is time-based. And time-based OTP also uses HMAC, and then but then instead of the increments of the counter, it actually uses the clock. So typically, it would increment the code at every 60 seconds or 30 seconds, depends on your IDPs and configuration. And lastly, there's also the challenge response. This is another extension to the HOTP standard, but then it's less commonly nowadays. So let's take a step back and look at why MFA again. So that before we can dive into the technicals of the OTP, right? MFA it's really like typically what is the multi-factor? What are the factors, in the authentication scheme? So typically it goes into something into three factors, right? Like something you know, something you have, or something you are, right? The traditional models of using password and secret-based, it's basically challenging you on something you know, right? You need to remember your password or have a very challenging password to build that sense of security, right? And then something you have is basically something that in your possessions. So in this case, it could be smartphones or hardware tokens. It could be the non-biometric kind of FIDO keys. And then something you are. Lastly, something you are is usually based on some kind of biometric signals, right? Fingerprints, your iris patterns, your face ID, right? So these are the examples. So OTPs fit into the middle one as to establishing trust based on something you have, and it does that by making it very hard to render that OTP verification code. And how does it do that? It does it by symmetric share secrets. So whenever you want to set up an OTP, there has to be a secret, which is what we call the seed value. And then, so what it does is that especially once you enroll, now the server and your token both know the secrets, right? So at the time of authentication, you will take that secret, calculate it, and then adding with the variable. So in the OTP example, TOTP example, you'll be the time increments, and then in the HOTP, you'll be the counter, right? So you take these two and hash it go through a cryptographic function to calculate that OTP code. So on the token side, it also does the same. So that's why you ask you to verify by entering those codes. And then once you enter the code and it matches what server has, then you establish the trust in your identity. So that's the dry stuff for how OTP works. But in practice, let's get into the portfolio. We have actually a lot of different portfolio for FEITIAN. We have the traditional, super easy to use single button OTP. So every time you press this, it generates, it renders the code based on your configuration. One of the variants is the NFC capable one. So this one allows you to program them using the mobile app through NFC, and that's very versatile. And then there's also the OTP cards, and it comes in 2 sizes. So these are the 2. So, so they have a tiny little button here where you press it, you render the same code. You render the code just like the OTP token. And these are very easy to carry as they fit into your wallet nicely. And then this one is more like a library card size. And also we have the e-signature OTP. So it has a lot of different functions, but then for the topic of today's discussion, I think it's worthy to call out that it could be used as a PIN protected TOTP token. So basically we have the TOTP token, but then, the code itself isn't protected. Whereas here you can actually set up a PIN protection to challenge you before you can actually access and get a token, just in case if you worry that this gets stolen. And then we have the QR code OTP. So this is pretty cool. This one has a camera on the back. This one actually works the same way as an authenticator app. So basically, it captured the QR code and which transferred the secret, and they established that the enrollment of the device. So that so instead of carrying a mobile apps with the apps installed, if your organization disallow any kind of personal device or apps installed, then this could be a valid alternative. Lastly, there's the FIDO key. So our FEITIAN's FIDO key is all very capable. Most of it, actually, not all of them, but then most of it has OTP feature built in, with some of them have actually 2 slots, where short press means slot 1, and then long press means slot 2 to trigger different the OTP codes. And we're getting to that too today's demo. So next we are getting to demo time. So let's see. So I'm going to go through a couple of the identities provider here and try to showcase how to configure and then the actual authentication user experience on that. So first off, we're getting to Dual. So I'll show you. So Dual supports both TOTP and actually they support HOTP primarily, but then they also work with TOTP. TOTP, they don't support the time-driven adjustments. That's why it's recommended to use HOTP with them. So in logging as the admin for Dual, you'll be able to see this screen. And let me take a step back. So it's under 2FA device and hardware token. And once you get in there, you'll be able to see these are the tokens that's already been enrolled. So importing a hardware token is super easy actually on Dual. They did a great job making it super easy. You just basically select the type of the HOTP or TOTP token, and then you put in the CSV data. So what does that data look like? It looks like this. So essentially it's just the serial number of the code as well as the C value. So for Dual, they need the C value to be in hexadecimal format. And then we'll get into the Azure AD. The Azure AD actually needs base 32 format. So once you kind of put that value in and you hit import, it'll tell you, oh, it's enrolled successfully for the hardware, and you'll show it in this list. Now, what you need to do is go to the user and then assign it to the user that you want to use. So in this case, we're assigning it to demo tester 2 account here. And if you scroll down, you'll see that there are 2 actually. The cool thing is also you can assign multiple HOTP token for the same user. So I think it's good to set up a backup. Okay, so now looking into how it works. Give me 1 second. Zoom has this annoying thing that's not going away. Okay, all right, so looking at how it works. So I have here that I actually set up dual protection for this account in Azure AD. So what I'm gonna do is to log in as that account. I'm probably still logged in, so I need to log out first. All right, so log in to Azure AD as that tester2 account. The first credential, the password is saved by my Chrome manager, password manager. And then now it's asking me for the one-time code, which I set up. This is the one that I enrolled in. There we go, that's it. So that's for the C100 token. And then next, it's more exciting actually. We're gonna showcase how to log into using this the FIDO built-in OTP. So I'm gonna showcase here. I'm gonna log out again, and then I'll get into how. So I want to show you how we can program these. And let's see, slot 1. So I programmed these by this program called FEITIAN Personalization. So this program is the one that you can program your FIDO keys and utilize the OTP token. So when I plugged it in, you see that there are 2 slots, and the first slot is configured for HOTP. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, by the way. I'm doing the programming. So what you need to do is basically select the path where you want to store your C file, which is important because that has the C value as well as the serial number to be uploaded onto the Duo. And then you want to make sure you select the proper OTP method. Here we want to use HOTP. And then 6 digits, SHA-1 as the hash function, and then do start, right? Once it goes through this sequence, he'll tell you, okay, to unplug and replug the key before you can burn the seed in and then also produce the C file. All right, so that's that. Come back to it. So if you come back to this user account, the other hardware token here is actually exactly that. So, so how I want to work here is that, so slot 1 is now configured, and slot 1, how to trigger the code for slot 1 for this FIDO key is by short tapping. Quickly contact the key itself. So let me show you how. Unfortunately, I don't have a second camera today to do that, so I'm just gonna show you on the user interface side. So the same experience as you enter the password, now it's asking you, that's routing you through Duo, and then Duo prompt you for the OTP. So I just plugged it in, and I quickly tap, and then it'll generate a code. And then that verifies and authenticates you. Okay, so that's that. And then now I'm gonna showcase how to work the most common use case, which is the C200. And this, I'll showcase the programming of this later, but then it's super easy. On the programming side, you log in as the admin into your Azure AD. And then you go into, oh, it's not ready yet. So we go into security, MFA, and then OAuth tokens. So again, this may require you to be on a certain tiers of Microsoft license to have the option. So, and so for this one is the C200 line. So what's happening here is that you need to essentially upload C information by using, and then the C looks like this for our Microsofts. So for this user, we're using demo tester, and then the serial number, and then the C value in base 32 format, and then the interval of the C of the token, and then companies in C300, the model. So this is actually provided by Microsoft. This is a required format that's that says on the interface here. So once you uploaded that, it would show you processing, and then eventually it would tell you, successfully, now you can activate it. So when you sorry for the disruption. So when you activate it, it's going to ask you to generate the code that's on your token, so that you can verify and properly activate it. So now it's activated. Let's log into it and show you how to do that. So demo tester. Right. So it's asking for the code, and I just put it in. Whoa, okay. Actually, I think I just missed the time. Oh, okay, it worked. Cool. So that's it. That's it for the TOTP token. Super easy to use. Next up is the C200 NFC. So this is the one that you get to program using your mobile apps. So we're going to try with Google's account. So here, going into the security of Google account, you'll see the two-step verification. All right, so in here, we are actually going through this configuration path. We're actually gonna act as using the Authenticator app. That's how Google's naming convention for this. It's essentially a way of TOTP. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna delete this existing setup, and then set up the Authenticator app and say, oh, I'm on Android. It really doesn't matter which you choose, Android or iPhone. So on the phone here, on my phone here, again, I apologize, I don't have a second camera. I am launching the Authenticator app. So this is FEITIAN's Authenticator. And I'm gonna hit add and it's like scan it. So now it's gonna scan the QR code on my screen. And I apologize if this may take a little bit. From my experience, this it takes a little delay for this to actually get scanned. Oh, there you go, you got it. So once you got it, you actually capture that, and you can just say, okay. So when you have it set up, then it works the same way as all the other Authenticator app. And so what I'm gonna do next is to put the key next to the phone on the back, so to activate the NFC, and then tap this little arrow, 3 dots here, and then say burn seed. So once I do that, the seed successfully burned to the token. So to verify that this works, you can generate, this is a TOTP, so it doesn't matter how many times you hit. It's the code should be the same between your mobile app and then this token. Now, coming back to the Google Authenticator setup, you hit next and then put in the latest code to verify the token. And it'll tell you, oh, it's done, right? So now that's done, and the next time when there's a need to, let me try if this works. When there's a need to configure to use the authentication, you'll prompt. All right, so now it's gonna prompt me. Well, I've also had the phone, so let me try it the other way. And now I'm gonna say get the verification code from the Authenticator app, which is this dongle here. And then I just press it and enter the codes on there. There we go. So that worked. I'm logged in on this in incognito mode. So that's the Google, and then demoing with this TOTP with an NFC. So next up we have, what are we doing on time? We have 5 minutes left. Okay, I think do this. Okay, so next up we have GitHub. So this is also very similar actually. So I think I'm gonna just kind of quickly go over this. So this is gonna use very similar steps as what we did gone through on the authenticator apps on the mobile, but instead, since this FIDO key doesn't have a clock inside, so what's gonna happen is that you need to install something like this. It's called FEITIAN Authenticator. So essentially it's the same as the mobile app, but it's just on the window. And on here, it's gonna allow you to program the FIDO key for TOTP purpose. And then when you need to render the code, you also need to open this app to render that code. So right now you see slot 1, this is essentially the HOTPs that we used earlier for the dual logged in. So now we just need to go through the same QR code active enrollment for this. And then on the other screen, you will have security set up here on your service provider, and then also where you also enable the you also show the QR code. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna skip because we're running short on time, and then I still have a couple more things to talk about. So my apologies. I will be happy to kind of resume that discussion on this topic. So feel free to reach out. But that's the demo part as far as the configuration and use case for TOTP and OTP tokens. Now let's look at the different ways to program it. Right. So I think I already showcased at least 2 different ways to program it on the NFC side for these tokens, right? And you can also program the FIDO keys. So lastly, for the typical use case for these OTP token, when you order that, we typically provide and email you with the encrypted protection of the C files. But then you can do the same programming yourself and manage it yourself if your organization prefer with these devices. So this is the C programming device. And so there's that also. That's basically the 3rd column that you see here on the right. And there's also an even more elaborated programming machine that we carry. But then this is very rare that nowadays that people would actually get this. But then it's a very capable machine that even does engraving of the serial numbers for you. So, and coming back to the OTP and FIDO security key, again, there are different ways to do this. So we look at the FT personalization program, which can help you set up the OTP and provide you with a C file. But then if your IDP enrollment doesn't require you to carry and manage the C file, basically means that they have a QR code set up, then FEITIAN Authenticator is the way to go. And then lastly, there's also the SK Manager, which supports HOTP only, but then it also kind of, if your organization only uses HOTP, then this is definitely a super handy program to use. So lastly, we talked about C file management, right? So most of the time we see plain text, which is a hex formatted C value, and then base 32 encoded C value, as well as the XML formatted based on RFC 6030. So these are the couple primary formats. We also support a lot of different kind of other formats, but these are the most common ones. Whereas just as a reminder, the reason how secure your C file protection is how secure your OTP token is. Right? So if your organization requires centrally managed policy, then make sure that's that's not compromising security. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I think that's it. Let me see. Do I have anything else to cover? Yeah. So again, this is OTP, as you can see, it's a proven secure MFA method. You know, if that fits very well into a lot of different organizations' requirements, and it's very cost effective. So, and then there's a lot of different form factors for your convenience too. So, you know, check us out, and there's a promo code here for anybody who's interested, and get a discount today. So let's see how much time. Oh, we're at time. So let's see if I can answer the question very quickly. We have Andy on a question. I'll just answer this one question before we quit. Andy, thank you for your question. Can this e-signature OTP token allow multiple codes? If it contains PIN, it's entered, it will display user one's code. If it, oh, I see. So you're asking if these allows different profile. I'm pretty certain it may have that capability, but I have to get back to you, unfortunately, because TOTP it's one of the feature. However, it does have the primary feature actually works for challenge response protocol standard. So yeah, I'll be happy to follow up on that. All right, cool. Again, thank you very much, and have a nice rest of the day. Cheers.